Hello everybody, welcome. You are live with us here at Djuma Waterhole, and we have just found two enormous male lions. How exciting is this? It is the first time for me to just bump into male lions. They are coming down to what looks like to have a drink in a very muddy pool of water, and there was a very big buffalo bull rolling around in the mud only a few hours ago. Maybe they're smelling him, they're trying to find him, although his belly does look very, very full. Look at that. He is busy scraping his foot. Did you see that? Doing a bit of a territorial scrape. Oh, he is an enormous male lion, and he is not alone. But before we get too carried away about the break, my name is Steve Falconbridge. Welcome to the show. I'm joined on camera by the immaculate Craig. And we're coming to you live Sabi Sands, where I forget what the temperature is. I think it's about 25 or 26 degrees Celsius. That would make it about 32 degrees Celsius and 89 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a marvelous day, and to get male lions moving like this early on is fantastic. Well, we're in a vehicle. We feel quite safe. Let's go to a friend of mine who's watching us on foot.
Apologies that you couldn't hear me just now. We had a little audio issue. So we were going to head down this way to see what the monkeys were and impala were alarming at. But of course there's lions and we've got a car there. So we're not going to walk there now anymore. My name is Brent. I've got my good friend David on camera with me, and Herbie's out keeping us safe. So I think what we're going to do is go look for leopards. So there were some leopard tracks on the other side of camp. So we're going to let Steve enjoy the lions, and we're going to go see if we can find some leopards. Let us go quietly. Okay, so while we sneak away from where the lions are, let's send you back to Steve, who's right next to them.
We're thinking about going a little bit closer, but as we sort of get accustomed to who they are, I'm not 100% sure who these lions are. I've only seen two male lions before in individual times, and these are not them. So I'm assuming, but you're never good to assume, that these are two of the Birmingham boys, which are two of the dominant males out of a coalition of three, I think. Are there three? There's four of them. Oh, there's four. Maya, you would like to know how big a male lion can get. Well, this individual male lion is probably about almost as big as they get, few pounds left or right of the scale, and you can assume that this male lion can get up to about 240 or so kilograms. So if you double that, that's over 500 pounds. Can you imagine? Close to 500 pounds. Can you imagine an animal of that size? Now, it's hard to put it into perspective because it's a little bit far away and he's lying down in the grass. But if you had to put it next to your house cat, it would not be a glimmer of the same size. So they are, or can be, very, very big. And the thing is that when there's four of them, no one's going to mess with them because they are very big and strong. Please send your questions to the teacher. Let us know what you'd like to talk about. Boys and girls, but we are back with the lions. These are two of the territorial males of sort of this eastern or northwestern side of the Sabi Sands, and these are two brothers, or if not brothers, they are very closely related with regards to their sort of coalition, and there are four of them normally, and these two or four of them have been missing for a couple of weeks, exercising their dominion all over the south of the Sabi Sands, where there seems to be a lack of male lion presence, and that allowed for three young males who don't look nearly as impressive as these guys to pop in to the north. And I was just talking about it last night on my walk, because the male lions that we've had come in were calling and calling and calling for 2 days, and if that went unanswered, this area would be claimed by the new arrivals. But now we find these two males, and they are looking battle-worn and a little bit sore. That one in particular, that was in the shot, he's moved now, but he's got a gaping wound behind his left eye and behind his right ear. There we go, the left eye on the right of the side there, he's got a really big hole. It looks very, very sore. and he keeps rubbing it. It looks like a very fresh confrontation. And I was listening to the radio this morning, and one of the guys in the north was tracking a male lion that was running and running and running. So no doubt these guys had some confrontation in the night, and the youngsters were running away. Aiden, a lion is extremely fast. That individual lion there at charging speed can cover about 22 feet or 21 feet in a second when he's running. So if I work that out at top speed, he could probably run about 40 odd miles an hour. But they are not designed for distance. They're designed for short bursts of speed and short bursts of energy. And these two are very big, about as big as they get. So they're not as quick as the females, but they've got a lot of power behind them. Melissa, you want to know if lions are scared of me? And, well, we're in this big Jeep bumbling around. It's Marissa, it's green, it smells of petrol, or gasoline as you would call it, and they are not afraid of the vehicle. But if I climbed out of my car and started walking towards them, it would change their behavior, because lions have evolved on the African savannas. We are in the savannah right now with people, so we evolved with them. So for very, very, very long time, they were chased by us, so they know who we are when we're standing upright and walking. But at night time, it is a different story altogether. They don't have any fear of man at night, and on foot during the day, they will move away from you. Unless they have meat, or if it's female with cubs, they might not move away. But at night, it's a different story. They might crouch low and see you as food. Because historically, we didn't spend time walking around at night chasing lions off their food. That's how we first started hunting, or got our taste for food, was stealing it from bigger predators. But look at that marvelous, impressive mane around his head. Maya, he's just come from the hairdresser. That's why he has such crazy hair. No, I'm only joking. That big mane of hair around the lion's head serves two purposes. The first purpose is it acts as a cushioning and a protective layer against the neck and throat area when male lions are fighting and confronting each other. It's a very good cushioning because the jugular's in there, the throat, an area that if that got cut open, the animal could easily die. And second of all, for example, these guys, you see how their mane is brown and there's some dark patches, and it's a big, impressive mane. When you see the other males that I'm talking about, they're still a little bit short on the mane. It's not grown over the head properly. And so when one of them see one of these guys, they immediately think, okay, bigger, stronger, more experienced. So they move away rather than fighting. I like to talk about the story of if I walked into a bar or into a shopping center and I saw a big male guy with a big man with an enormous beard and full of tattoos, probably going to leave him alone. But if I see a smaller, skinnier guy there, cleanly shaven and neat looking, maybe he's the guy to pick on rather than the big, hairy, scary looking guy. So that's the purpose of the mane, to avoid competition and to protect them when they are fighting. Maddie, the lions are so strong. I don't know how to explain it to you. I couldn't actually comprehend it myself, but with their weight and with the power in them, I mean, I say they weigh 450 to 500 pounds. Can you just imagine a human being weighing that, how strong they would be? And lions, equivalently to humans, are stronger. So if you had to make a human being 500 pounds, imagine how strong that person would be, and then probably amplify that by about 2. And that's where the lion comes in, because they got 4 very powerful legs, a very big barrel chest, and claws and teeth all over the place. The animal is designed to pull down big animals like giraffe, buffalo, zebra. And when you have a male lion of this size, he's very capable of doing that, especially when there's 2 or 3 of them. So let's go over and see how the bushwalk team is doing. Yes, well, you're back with us, and the one male lion has decided that it was too much for him to sit up. His brother, though, You look at that belly. That belly is enormous. Enormous. You can get about 80, 90 pounds of meat in there. Can you imagine that? Oh, Dawson, you want to know if I've seen a lion catch an impala. I was about to tell you a story to try and help you to understand the power of these lions. And I once saw a male impala, or it was a young impala, it was a young male, was stuck in some mud, and two male lions, about the size of these two guys, circled the mud wallow, and eventually one jumped in and grabbed the impala on the back. And as he pulled it out, the other male lion grabbed the impala lower down on the back, and then they fought a tug-of-war battle, shoulder to shoulder, and they ripped the impala in half. It took about 2, maybe 3 seconds of tug-and-war, and that impala just separated in the middle. So that is enormous power, enormous, enormous power. And then they went off to eat their half impala on their own. And that was just a morsel for them, just a snack. But we were talking about the mane before. Have a look at that individual there. He's gone. See, so if we look at the one on the right, Craigo, have a look at how the grass is not very tall there, boys and girls, and that male lion has disappeared. Can you give me that name again, please, Kirst? Jay Zion, you want to know if male lions catch cheetah? They will. They will kill them if they can. Lions will take exception to any predator they see, including other predators such as lions. So they'll take, if they see a lion they don't know, a male, they will fight it, they'll kill it if they can. If they find lionesses that they don't know, they might go in to try and mate. Those females might fight them off, they might kill them. That does happen. But anything else, a leopard, a cheetah, a wild dog, a lion will kill if they can catch them. Same with hyena. It is all competition out here. We call it intraspecific competition because it's between the species and it's all about food. They all have a similar sort of food resource that they go for in the African wilderness, and if any of them catch the cubs of another one, they will kill them. Probably the most docile of them all is the cheetah. The cheetah doesn't seem to affect the other predators too much, including their cubs. But all of the others, if they come across the cubs or pups of one of the others, will kill them, because it's sort of soldiers coming forward or future kings coming forward. So they'd rather eliminate them before they get strong, big and strong. And male lions are very good at doing that. Michael, you want to know if lions share their kills. Now, it really depends on who is with them. I have seen a male lion with a pride of lions, and he has allowed the cubs to feed with him. But any of the females come near, and he smashes them away. But then I've also seen females share with cubs. Then I've also seen females smash the cubs away. But often male lions will steal all the food for themselves against the females, and males will feed together, but very aggressively. It's part and parcel of being a lion, really. From the age of being a cub, they compete to suckle. So they're competing all the time from the day they're born. And those who cannot compete just even on mother's milk will not make it to adulthood. They will not succeed. So it's part and parcel of being a lion is competing. But quite often the males will steal the food from the females, who will then go off and hunt again, leaving the fat and lazy male lions behind. And that is only half as full as I've seen a belly. Okay, well, looks like the bushwalk team has managed to find something of interest, so let's go and see.
Well, we're sitting here with the sleeping lions at Vuyatela Dam, doing what they do best, lying around. And you can see this male panting quite nicely. He looks like he might have a bit of a belly on him. I wonder when they fed last. That does look like he's got a bit of a big belly with some food in it, but I could be wrong. Might just be the angle. His companion is lying in the grass and very flat. We can hardly see him. There he is. And Kirsten's telling me that's the one that's injured. So we can't really see him from this angle. But we're up on the dam wall, so we've got a little bit of a view down over them. I thought I'd start off over here. And we might pop around the front of them, especially if they get up or do something. But it might be quite interesting a little bit later, once the sun heads towards the horizon. Maybe they'll get up and give us a roar or something like that. Might be quite nice. But nice to have lions so near to camp. We're literally just about 500 meters away from here, where we sleep. And, well, we have lions, we have elephants, we have leopards walking right past our camp. Okay, these lines are very flat. I think we need to move on and find some other animals. Oh, hello. Is he waking up, or is he just going to roll over? Go on. Oh, look at that fat belly. A big stretch. Oh, wow. That was quite difficult. Okay, let's head you on off to Brent, and we'll relocate. Well, everyone, this is now from a sleeping buffalo to some sleeping lions. A very sleepy, lazy afternoon, isn't it? But it's always worth our while to come down here next to WildEarthTV Dam. And if these lions decide to get up a little bit later, well, we'll be right here. I think we're going to sit with them a little while. Maybe we'll get lucky and they roar. That will be fantastic to get on camera. And, well, we could have any of the other predators coming down for a drink. There's been lots of activity with the leopards around. They'll obviously be very cautious with these lions here if they spot them. Now, origin, I have to say that the origin of white lions, or leucistic lions as they are better known as, is actually just a genetic variation. So it's like, it's not albinism, because they do normally have blue eyes, so they do have pigment. It's just very low in pigment. So it's a very rare genetic variation. They are not created by man. They do occur naturally, and they, I think, naturally in the Timbavati area of thorny bush type area in the Kruger National Park is where we have naturally occurring leucistic lions, and there are still some around at the moment. There's not a lot of them, and the genetics says that there will be, the ratios is probably 1 in like 20,000 or something like that. But the variation still exists naturally, and it's not anything produced by man. What we do now is we like that trait because they've got blue eyes and very light fur, almost white. So it makes for very nice photography and photos. So I know, I managed a game reserve down in the Eastern Cape which had exactly that. They had introduced a couple of leucistic lions because it was very photogenic, and so drew a lot of tourists who paid a lot of money. But it wasn't like they were in camps or anything. They were left free on the natural reserve, but they were brought in for their aesthetic value and photogenic quality. But they do occur naturally. It's quite similar to that of the king cheetah, which is also a genetic variation. It's exactly the same species, just slightly different color patterns, and also being bred because of that difference there. I just stopped because this guy was snoring. And it's also like the melanistic leopard. Now, thank you to the viewers saying that one of these is called Tinyo. Which one is it? Is it the one that's upside down or the one that's lying on his side? You can tell me. I haven't really been able to see any real characteristics on them. So it seems it might be the one lying on his side. I think the one on his side is the one that's potentially injured. Oh, Kirsten telling me this one that's rolling around is the one that's injured. Okay. Oh yes, I did see a little bit of a mark by his eye, but I was looking for where he's got injured on his body. But as I was saying, you get those melanistic leopards also down in the Eastern Cape. That's where they naturally occur. And that's also genetic variation. And it's a very gnarled battle axe type looking male lion this is. Okay, so you guys saying that this is Tinyo, huh? Good. Good. I hope that they get up soon and give us a show. And Nsuku. Okay. Well, that's good. So we've got the names here. Well done, everyone. Thanks for your input. That's what it's all about. You see, they've got the start of black manes as well. There's every possibility they're becoming a little bit more active. Let's hope that they start yawning soon and stretching. There's every chance that they might. But this is the time of day you want to be around lions, because they could be waking up soon, roaring, marking, spraying, scratching, drinking, doing all of that. We can only hope. At the moment, they're just like twins with their legs like that. Kathy, with the Birminghams being back, well, those evokers are going to have to be careful, aren't they? Because I'm putting all my money on these battle-hardened males, chasing those evokers for cover as soon as they realise what's going on, and that the evokers have been pushing in here, because they're still budding youngsters and not battle-hardened like these guys are. So my money's on them 100%. I think you wouldn't get too much money from the bookies if you bet on the Birminghams against the evokers, I would say, because if you know anything about these guys, you would say that they're going to send those evokers packing. But it will be interesting. I mean, we can think that, but you never know. You never know. Wildlife has a way of surprising you. Who knows? Maybe those youngsters are just in the right time, the right form of their life. I just have my doubts. I think these guys are way too strong and battle-hardened for them. Right, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to stay here and see if this does get a little bit more exciting. But in the meantime, off to Brent, and let's see how his wild dog search is still going, if he is still searching. Yes, everyone, and I've just been looking at my little bit of paperwork while VM shows you some close-ups of the anatomy of, I think that was Nsuku, the one lying on that side, and the other one being Tinyo. So Nsuku means gold, and Tinyo means tooth. So the two that we have here, was it, I think it was Tinyo and Nsuku that you guys said, yes. I'm still working out how to identify them, but the Birmingham boys consist of 4 males, so the 2 that are missing, that are not here at the moment, is Nena, which means warrior, and Mfumo, which means authority. So there's those two not here. But Birmingham boys, they're called such because they were born in 2013 on the farm Birmingham in the Timbavati. So that's quite a way from here. So they've travelled quite a long distance to obviously come through here and dominate the Styx and Nkuhuma prides. Now I wonder with their travels down south from here, where and who they have been dominating. Must be other females there. I'm sure Brent knows, but I'm still catching up with all the information. So we're still sitting, waiting, hoping for them to roar and give us a show. But in the meantime, off to the bushwalk team, something exciting over there. Well, all they've done for now is breathe and roll a little bit. Oh, there's a bit of movement. Hello. Come on, give us a stretch. A wonderful black mane, that. Very much like the Kalahari black-maned lions that we find in the desert. A very distinctive sort of genetic line, that as well. Those completely black manes. This is just getting a little bit darker around the bottom, but the Kalahari maned lions, it's completely black. And I think it has a lot to do with the area that they're in that desert type conditions, absorbing a lot of the light, I would say, because you have a lot of reflection off the rocks and so on. And so I think it's, dual purpose. Not only does it make them look mean and nasty, but it also, I'm sure, has an effect with the heat and the light in the sort of arid regions, because that's where you find the black-maned lions. Minamu, it's generally the males that have it's always the males that have the mane, because mostly to protect them when they're fighting between each other. So the male lions, they are sort of, through evolution, designed to fight with other males, and also obviously with that in mind, they need to look big and authoritative, and also to protect their neck area. So that's what it's all about. Males are designed for fighting, females designed for hunting and stealth. So they are real hunting machines, whereas males are real fighting machines. And it's not to say that males can't hunt. They're just not as good at concealing themselves and getting up close to animals without them knowing. But once the females have potentially grabbed a big prey like a hippo, or even going as far as elephant or giraffe or buffalo, and the male gets in the mix, well, it just makes that job so much easier, because he can bring it down virtually on his own. I saw a male lion bring down a giraffe over a ton in Etosha National Park in Namibia. Now, as the sun starts setting and we wait for these lions to get up and give us a show, let's head on over to Steve with that beautiful sunset. They're still just breathing, but Brent is absolutely correct when he says that you don't want to be part of the food chain, because lions during the day, I wouldn't even have a problem walking near to lions during the day, but at night they're a completely different beast altogether, and so you need to be very cautious and not stay out after dark. And that goes for hyenas, lions. It's almost like, as the saying goes, they grow another leg. And it's quite strange, because at the moment we're hearing a lot of alarm calls. Now, whether or not it's just that these animals in the area have just realized that there's lions here, or if there's leopard around, or if there's potentially another 2 lions making their way down. So there has been quite a bit of calls, and especially from the wildebeest, which are just opposite us on the bank, where we can't see them, but we can hear them. They have been grazing there the whole afternoon, though. It would be rather silly of them if they haven't realized that these lions are here now. But the trouble is that sometimes one animal alarm calls, and then the rest of them just alarm call because one of them did. So it's that classic case of allelo-mimetic behavior, copycat behavior. Somebody does something, we all just follow him. We don't really know why. It's almost like sheep. But this impala looks like he might be wanting to come down for a drink. I'm sure he'll also get a bit nervous if he sees these lions next to the pan. Jamie, I haven't heard any news of the Nkuhumas. Brent is a good one to ask for that. I'll ask him a little bit later. He's got his informers all around here. I don't really know too many people in this area. I do try and get information from some of my ex-students that work on some of the lodges around here, that I trained some of them or did part of their training with them. But I haven't heard anything of the Nkuhumas recently. But this is fantastic news that the Birminghams are back here. And that's Djuma Lodge in the background that you just saw. And these two still fast asleep. Not a worry in the world. Even when all the animals were alarm calling, you very often have, when the leopards are around and the animals start alarm calling, they very often run away and get away from the animals giving away their position. But lions, they don't care. They just carry on snoozing. Wonderful to see, though. And that is the ideal or the utmost best way to chill. They are chilling hard. You can't chill any harder than that. That is very relaxed. Michael, it all depends on what they eat, in terms of how much they must eat a week. So if they get something nice and big like that Dagga boy, the buffalo just downstream from where we are, that could set them up for a good part of 2 weeks. Also depending on how many mouths they feed. So it all depends on how much they eat, but a small feed, like eating a warthog, they could eat every day. But something nice and big, like a buffalo, that could last them up to 2 weeks. So, and then you've obviously got all the ratios of the different animals in between. If they get a kudu, or if they get a zebra, obviously that's going to give them quite a nice lengthy period. I had one pride of lions in Etosha National Park on a giraffe, pardon me, and they stayed there for 2 weeks. In the end, it was not very nice near to where they were eating. It really stank. But, well, the protein was still all right for them, and they just kept feeding on it. So, yeah, eventually it is, I think they can also leave it if they're not finishing it, because it can start getting really, past its sell-by date. It's probably only good for vultures and hyenas with their very acidic stomach. But lions can handle relatively decomposed meat as well. It probably makes it easier to digest, I would imagine. But don't often see them worrying too much about the age of the meat and how old it is and how much it stinks. They still get stuck in. But yes, they are sleeping for now. We still just hope that the show is imminent. And while we wait, off to Steve and see if he's got anything imminent.
Thank you, Ralph. These lions have done almost nothing since we left. I think all they've done is gotten a little bit closer to each other. And what we didn't notice earlier was that the one on the left is nowhere near as full as the one on the right, which is awesome. There must have been some squabble. Nsuku and Tinyo, and Nsuku is the one that's fuller. That one there, I remember seeing him earlier, and Tinyo is the one that did not get the impala, I suppose. It's possible that something was killed and they didn't share. That often happens if one individual is the one making the kill and it's small enough to defend, then it'll go uncontested. And you see it quite often with lions when they feed. I think, Craig, you were with me when we followed the Nkuhumas off that night, eh? Yeah. From Bavusuk. You can even get a youngster that might grab a piece and move off, and anyone that tries to approach, there will be growls and snarls, and it's kind of like just like an unspoken rule. The others will just leave. They won't try and steal that little morsel, or bone, or leg, or fillet, or head, or whatever it is that has been stolen. They'll kind of respect the toy. Those of you who were with me right in the beginning in January, when we had the Nkuhumas with those tortoises, They weren't giving them up. It was only when the one didn't, well, look the other way, they were stolen. Tom, I don't think there's really a leader in the pride. Invariably, coalitions are brothers. If they're not brothers, then they're similar-aged lions that have come together to form a coalition for the benefit of themselves. And there's no real leader. Just like I'm talking about food, what you'll see when it comes to mating, the first male to sort of spot or smell an estrus female, he's in charge of that female. There won't be any competition for her. I'm not saying the males won't follow him for days while he mates with that female, but invariably the first one to come across the female is sort of the one who will cover her. But there's no real leader. You might get different personalities in the pride. You might get different individuals that might instigate the fight or go in and attack another male before the others do, or whatever it might be. They might lead forward, but I've never really noticed a leader per se in a coalition of male lions. It's possible there is something like that, but it's nothing I've ever personally witnessed before. It just seems to be the one that gets there first, seems to be in charge of the day's play. And because they are assisting each other, there's like a gentleman's agreement between them. They don't want to fight physically. They do have scraps and little punch-ups, but it's nothing nearly as serious as proper fighting. Yes, well, there's always some form of sort of what we think to be real aggression, but what it is just being a lion, I mean, if you see a pride feeding, there's an enormous aggression showed between members while they're feeding, but they love each other. As soon as the meat is gone and the bloodlust is out of the nose, they go and lick each other and apologize for the noise they made. But that is part and parcel of being a lion. If they didn't do it, they wouldn't get to the sort of stage that they're at, the evolutionary stage that lions are at. They would be a weak species. So that competition, which is ingrained from, as I mentioned, I think in the school drive, from the suckling stage all the way up to dominance and male coalitions, is all very important from a sort of genetic point of view and moving forward. If there wasn't any fighting, there wouldn't be scraps. The lions wouldn't be as strong as they are. They wouldn't be able to fight as well as they do. And obviously, because these guys are a coalition, they need to keep their bonds together. When we first saw them, when Tinyo came and joined the other young gentleman, there was a bit of face rubbing, a very quick little face rub, but they often, as you can see, sleep really close to each other. They take comfort in each other's presence because as two, they are stronger than one, and as three, they are stronger than two. So they know that. They don't want to sort of get rid of the third musketeer, so to speak. So it's important for them to keep their bond strong. And yes, the fighting that we see, we might think is unbelievable, but in lion terms, it's really just part and parcel of being a lion. In all honesty. Okay, well, it looks like Ralph is searching in all the nooks and crannies for a leopard. Let's see how he's doing. Yes, we are indeed, and the minutes are counting down. And James had them calling in the last moments of drive the other day, but I think that was before we had the half an hour earlier shift. So I think they might be waiting for 6:15 South African time before they bellow out their calls. Hello, Lily, age 7. You want to know a very interesting question of whether these males returned because the evokers were calling, and I have no doubt that is what happened. They heard the challenge from a very long way away, and they came charging. Now, I'm wondering if there was more than 2, or if all 4 of them came up. They seem to spend a lot of time together, these cats. As I mentioned, the coalition is only as strong as its weakest link, and if they came up with just 2, maybe that's how confident they are. James was discussing it the other day on the Saturday show that these cats, these boys, have been in a lot of scraps. You can see it by their face, you can see it by just their entire attitude. They've seen a lot of action, and the evokers have come in with a little bit of arrogance, I would say, probably not having too many scraps. Their faces don't look too battle-scarred, and they've come in and they thought they've claimed a territory, and they have been calling. I don't know where they are at the moment, and these males have come back to try and oust the challengers. And I have no doubt that those of you who are watching the dam cam this evening, especially with the audio that it produces, will be listening closely to these boys as they wake up and announce their presence in Djuma. Because if you didn't know what Djuma meant, it is the roar of the lion. It's been a marvellous afternoon with the monkeys alarm calling to show us the way. We had planned to head to Chitwa for some action, and we only got a minute out of camp before hearing the monkeys. And as you know, I've told you my most reliable alarm call is monkeys and kudu or nyala. And there we go. We had the male lions coming in. It amazes me how far the monkeys saw them from. But from Brent and the walking team, they saw some amazing tracks and spiders. No other cats this afternoon from the tracker team or Ralph himself. But it has been a marvellous afternoon from everybody here. We've enjoyed the questions and the commentary. And thank you from FC and all of you at home. Please join us again early tomorrow morning for another show on Safari Live. Have a beautiful night. We'll see you then.